On a cold, moonless night in October 2025, a Russian freight train, Military Echelon 440B, moved through occupied southern Ukraine. 50 tanker cars, each filled with diesel, powered the Russian war effort far from the front. The locomotive's headlight cut through Whiterbirdias, illuminating endless tracks. For the crew, it was routine, just another monotonous run through silent villages and empty fields. The war felt distant, their world was the narrow corridor of the railway. This train was one of dozens, part of a relentless logistical flow. Moscow's planners saw the railways as a strategic advantage, secure, high capacity, and immune to small attacks. But tonight, Echelon 440B was more than a target. It was the centerpiece of a meticulously planned operation. As the train rolled at 60 kilometers per hour, unseen forces converged on a pre-selected point ahead. The rhythmic clatter of wheels was not routine, but a countdown. The train was hurtling toward a trap. In the silent darkness, far from the front, a different kind of battle was about to begin. The fate of the supply line, and perhaps the war, would be decided in moments. Russian military planners trusted their railways almost blindly. Rail had been the backbone of Russian military power for over a century, moving armies and supplies across vast distances. In 2025, this reliance was unchanged. Rail was the only way to move the massive quantities of fuel and ammunition modern war demanded. The system seemed robust and secure, patrolled and guarded deep inside Russian-controlled territory. Attacks were considered improbable. A major disruption, unthinkable. Trains moved at night, their schedules secret, their routes protected by electronic warfare and air defenses. This confidence bred complacency. Russian planners underestimated their enemy's ingenuity. They saw thousands of kilometers of track as a strength, not realizing it was also a vast exposed vulnerability. The war was changing, fought not just on the front, but in the shadows. Russia's logistical fortress was not as untouchable as they believed. The stage was set for a new kind of strike. The plan to cripple Russian rail logistics took 18 months of painstaking intelligence work. Ukrainian agents and partisans watched, recorded, and built a detailed database of Russian train movements. They learned to distinguish fuel trains from ammunition convoys, tracked schedules, and mapped vulnerabilities. Intelligence came from locals risking everything, satellite imagery, and intercepted communications. The goal, not just to hit any train, but to strike the perfect target at the perfect place and time. The ideal spot was remote, hard to repair, and would maximize chaos. Timing was everything, ensuring the train would be at the kill zone in the dead of night. This was a strategic shift. Ukraine couldn't match Russia's tonnage, but it could find the system's Achilles heel. The intelligence gathered became ammunition for a new kind of weapon. The plan was to deliver a single surgical blow with the potential to shock the entire Russian war effort. It was a war fought in secret, with patience and precision. The groundwork was laid for a strike that could change the course of the conflict. The operation moved from theory to action. From this intelligence, the Track Ripper Doctrine was born, a multi-layered approach to railway sabotage. It combined three elements: custom explosives, advanced drones, and elite operatives. The Krot 7 device was the heart, a shaped charge designed to obliterate track and create a crater. Its sensors listened for the specific sound and vibration of a heavy freight train, ensuring precise detonation. Reconnaissance drones scouted the site, confirming security and timing. FPV attack drones, armed with incendiaries, would strike after derailment to ignite fuel tankers. The human element was critical: two-person teams, trained to infiltrate, plant devices, and vanish. These operatives were ghosts, blending in and operating deep behind enemy lines. The doctrine aimed not just to break track, but to paralyze entire sections of the network. Each component played a role in a devastating symphony of sabotage. The plan was ready. The strike would be surgical and spectacular. The countdown to destruction had begun. 2 days before the attack, operatives Sparrow and Koval began their final approach. Disguised as local farmhands, they moved only at night, living off the land. They spent days observing the target, a raised embankment beside a marshy gully, perfect for a catastrophic derailment. Just after midnight, they infiltrated the site, moving with silent precision. Using night vision, they crawled across open ground, every step calculated. At the embankment's base, Koval unpacked the compact Krot 7 device. Sparrow stood guard, ever watchful. They dug a cavity beneath the rail, replaced the device and carefully restored the trackbed to hide all traces. Within 30 minutes, the trap was set. Krot 7 armed and waiting, invisible beneath the surface. The operatives melted back into the darkness, leaving no evidence. They were gone before dawn, ghosts in the night. The device waited, sensors primed for the vibrations of its prey. All that remained was to wait for the thunder. The fate of the train and the supply line rested on their work. The stage was set for destruction. In a distant command post, Ukrainians watched a live drone feed as Echelon 440B approached the kill zone. The Krot 7 sensors showed armed and waiting. Tension was palpable. Months of planning came down to these moments. The train's data point closed in on the fixed coordinates. The device's sensors confirmed the heavy locomotive's approach. The Krot 7's logic cross-checked inputs. Target confirmed. The locomotive passed. The device detonated under the second fuel tanker. A deep explosion tore a crater in the embankment. Tanker cars jackknifed, derailed, and tumbled down the slope. Steel twisted, cars piled up, and diesel gushed from ruptured tanks. The locomotive and first car rolled on, their crew stunned by the chaos behind. In seconds, the supply artery was shattered. The first phase of the operation was a devastating success. As the wreckage settled, Ukrainian command launched the second phase. 10 FPV attack drones, each with incendiary payloads, lifted off and sped toward the crash site. Operators, flying by sight, targeted intact tanker cars. The first drone dived, detonating its charge inside a tanker. A fireball erupted, igniting spilled diesel. More drones struck, each triggering new explosions. Rivers of flame flowed along the gully, secondary blasts sending smoke skyward. The crash site became a raging inferno visible for miles. Russian responders could only watch as the fire consumed the wreckage. The drones had turned a derailment into a logistical catastrophe. The main railway artery was not just blocked, it was incinerated. The operation's second phase ensured the damage would last for days. The supply line was severed beyond quick repair. Russian command received confused reports, explosions, lost contact, chaos. A lockdown was declared. Emergency crews rushed in, unprepared for the inferno. The fire was too intense for responders to approach. Steel rails and cars melted. Further explosions threatened anyone nearby. Clearing the line was impossible for days. The main supply artery to the southern front was cauterized. Logistics ground to a halt. Trains backed up for hundreds of kilometers. Supplies had to be rerouted onto slower, more vulnerable lines or trucks. The single strike created a bottleneck that would take weeks to resolve. Russian planners scrambled, forced to divert resources and thin out defenses elsewhere. More track ripper operations followed, compounding the crisis. The lesson was clear. In modern war, supply lines are as vulnerable as the front. Ukraine's asymmetric tactics had brought a giant to a halt. The war for survival was being fought on the rails, as much as in the trenches.